Godwin.
Hi.
How was your summer of 2011 in the United States?
It was interesting.
So maybe you can tell something in more details. What was like really interesting, what you remember, and probably will keep with you for your whole life?
I got to work in a company town in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I worked in a Hershey packing plant. I worked a third shift. I had so many interesting experiences. I led the first strike in the U.S. labor sector. The last strike was 30 years ago, and I led the next one. I met the big labor unions, the chairman of the SCIU, the FLCIO, the Bakers Union. I met with the Secretary of Labor, Gabriel Solis. I met with several people in Pennsylvania, in many cities of the US. I made some very good friends there too. So everything considered, it was a good experience.
So I know it was almost like a hard summer. It wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't.
But did the good experience pay off for all these difficulties you had to go through?
In a way, they did. What I think I learned is that everybody has bad situations. It's just what you do about them. I had a not so wonderful experience with my employer. We essentially were exploited there, but instead of sitting down and complaining, we did something about it. Now, one of the biggest lessons I learned there is that no matter how bad something is, there is somebody who thinks it's comfortable for them. And you shouldn't let the fact that somebody doesn't think something is very bad to change your mind on what you think is bad. If you see something is bad and you can do something about it, you should do it.
So how would you describe the benefits of work and travel program for students who go there from all over the world?
I think it's a very good program. I think more people should be part of it, because there's so much you can learn. You get exposed. Now, if you were born in a certain country, there's this kind of mindset that you have. You think some things are like this, you understand some things are like this, and you think they must be done like this. Now, when you are part of this kind of a program, you're exposed to different people. You meet people from different countries who see things way different than you do. They have different ways of doing things, they have different perspectives about life, and it will help you to broaden your perspective. You come back a more mature person, because now you know there's not just one way of doing this, there are several other ways. It helps you to open up yourself because you meet different people and you have friends that are outside your normal circle. You meet different people, you go to different places. Maybe you will never go there again in your whole life, but you can have pictures and tell your children, when I was younger I went to the US, stuff like that. And there are so many experiences. There are so many things you can learn. It's like a crash course on life crammed into 3 months. The very wonderful parts, the very bad parts, and the in-between parts. So I'd advise anybody who can do it to do it. It's not going to be heaven on earth, but there are going to be some things you're going to learn from it.
Tell me, in which countries you experienced the style of life? In which countries you lived in your life?
I have lived in the UK, I have lived in Hong Kong, I have lived in Ukraine, I have lived in the US, I've lived in Nigeria. I visited South Africa. I've been to 5 or 6 West African countries. I've been around.
Wow, even I didn't know about all that. I thought you'd call like 3 countries, your home country, Ukraine, where you study right now, in the United States. But apparently you do have good experience of travel. So what do you think are the biggest fears students shouldn't have when they go in the program?
For students who is going on the work and travel program for the first time, I'll give you this advice. Go with an open mind. don't expect too much. Because if you're disappointed, it's going to spoil your mind about the things you might have enjoyed if your mind wasn't already spoiled about the things you were expecting. So go with an open mind. Yes, it's America and it's a wonderful country, but there are some really bad parts of it. If the Ukrainians watching this, I want to tell them that the roads in Times Square are worse than the roads in Odessa. So it's not so bad here.
And like, are there any situations or people you're really grateful to?
First and foremost, I want to thank Master Agency because they gave me the opportunity to go there. Setusa also, even though I don't like the part they played, but you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. The National Guest Worker Alliance, who really helped us in our peculiar situation with work, the SCIU, the FLCIU, and then the numerous students who I met, students from Turkey, from China, from Thailand, from Kazakhstan. I had contact with people from more than 15 countries in 3 months, so I'm grateful to everybody who played no matter how small a part in making my summer what it's turned out to be.
I would also ask you a question about the universities. That some, they do support students who go and work in travel program, but there are schools that just are really against students participating in this program. What do you think is the correct policy universities have to follow?
If a university doesn't like its students to go and experience the world, I think they're making a huge mistake. Because I think basically the university is supposed to be a preparation for life. You leave your family, maybe you move to another city, move to another continent, maybe another country, like in my case, and you're supposed to pick up an academic degree. That is the first. But in addition to that, you also pick up life lessons. You meet different lecturers, you meet different students. You learn that some of the things you thought were cool are not so cool. Some of the things you thought were very bad are just normal. And very important to that experience is mixing with people. If a student has a desire to go to another country for the summer, I think the university should push their students to do that, because they come back more mature, they come back with bigger minds. If I was born in Odessa and I grew up in Odessa and I've never left Odessa, I might believe that the world ended at the Black Sea and the other end of the world was maybe somewhere in Kiev if I've never gone there. I'd never know that there was a world way beyond this. I'd hear of English language, but I think it's something I saw in the movies until I go to a country where everybody speaks it. This world is becoming an increasingly small place because of globalization and travel. And I think the universities should be pushing their students to partake in programs like this, because there are some things you cannot learn in a classroom. No matter how good the school is, there are things the classroom cannot teach you. And programs like this are perfect for letting their students get the maximum exposure that they can get from such a program. So I think any university that is stopping students from doing this is making a very big mistake. It's very wrong.
Also this question, many students, or not many, but some students who go in the program, they spend money and they don't have a chance to get the money back, for example. They choose to travel more than to work. Is it worth it?
It's a difficult question. I'd say no and a little bit of a yes. It's not worth it because one thing you will learn from working is responsibility. You know that you're supposed to go to work, you have a job, and your employers expect you to do this. You are responsible for something in the place where you're employed. You learn that if I make $50 a week, it's because I worked for $50 a week. You learn how to manage your money and how to plan, because you know at the end of the week that this is how much I'm going to make, so you know exactly how much you can spend. in the yes side, it's not a full yes, because maybe for some students it's a once in a lifetime thing. So if they don't do this, they might never do it again. Yes, in that sense, there is some measure of sympathy that I have for that outlook. But overall speaking, I say no. Work, you have 1 month at the end of your work to travel. And if you actually work, you have more money to spend. So I think students who come to the US, like we had some students who worked where I was, and after a month, they just stopped coming to work. They just stay at home, and the employers will write letters to them. And they'd say, the work is too hard, it's too difficult, I'm not going to go. And they want to travel. If you want to spend money, you have to earn money. So I think for students who go to such a program, my advice to you is work as hard as you can, earn as much money as you can, then you'll actually be able to spend more money.
That's a good point.
Right.
There was one more question I was going to ask. Let me think, what was it? Oh, if you had a chance to make improvements to the program, to its regulation, to the way it's being run, what would you do?
The first thing I would do is to, like in the seminars that are held for the students before they go, to wipe the illusions from their minds. Many people think it's America and it's perfect, it's heaven. Yes, if you are rich and you live in California, it's heaven.
Well, we still have to pay taxes, though.
Of course. But if you're Ukrainian or you're Turkish or you're somebody else and you have to go to the US, there are some things you need to understand. America is a country that is all about how much you can make from any situation. They are opportunists. If they think they will make $1 more by making your life worse, they will not hesitate to do it. So you need to understand that, yes, it's wonderful, you will go to Disney World, you will go to Niagara Falls, you go to everywhere, but you need to understand that it's a business-oriented society. Your father is not there, your mother is not there, nobody will be there to fight for you. And America is basically a country where anything you can grab, you can take. So that is it. You need to understand that it's not so wonderful. That is one thing. Then the second thing, if there is a way of creating a community of students who travel to the US, I think that would be a really good idea. Because you have some students who live in cities where there are not so many wonderful jobs, and all the money they make goes into paying for their housing and their feeding, and then at the end of the day they don't really make any money. If there was a community like that where students could come and share their experiences, so that if someone is in a bad place and someone else is in a bad place, they can communicate and encourage themselves. It's bad for you, it's almost the same thing for me, so you don't feel depressed. This is a summer, you might never do it again. So there's no point in staying there and feeling so bad and just wondering, okay, it's 1 more month and then I'll go home. It's a big country, there are so many opportunities there. You can make a better life of it if there's like a support structure. And last but not the least would be with sponsors. I understand the peculiarities of their problems, because you have maybe 30,000 students and you cannot oversee everything that they do. But if a student sits down and tells you, this is my situation, I think it's worth going to listen to investigate it. Because some of these students have never left their countries before, and you are the only person that they know. So if they present genuine concerns, the employers, the sponsors are Americans too. They think like Americans, they behave like Americans, but they should also understand that when we were speaking with the Secretary of Labor, I said something to her. I said, right now, all that these people here are, they're just students. Maybe they will be nobody tomorrow, maybe they will be somebody. But will you want to take the risk of finding out that one of the students who spent their summer in the US in 20 years' time becomes the new Bin Laden, whose opinions about America were formed exclusively on his experiences here. It will be difficult to tell someone who actually experienced something that it's different. If he read, you might present a good argument, but if he actually experienced these things firsthand, it's impossible because he suffered them. I met so many students who had so many terrible problems because of this program. So I think there should be more oversight. Those are the things I think should be changed about the J1 program.
Yeah, and that's actually what it looks like they're doing right now. Like
Yeah.
even in July there came out new regulations from Department of State where they make sponsors work harder.
Yeah, there were some investigations by the Department of Labor that I was a part of in my factory, and we hope that they do it. The problem with things like this is when it's in the newspapers, everybody wants to do it.
Yeah, it's
The
true.
moment it leaves newspapers, never mind, next year we'll find something.
Yeah, something like that. Do you have anything else to add?
I want to say that I enjoyed the J1 the work and travel. It was a really wonderful experience. I met so many people I would not have met if I didn't go for it. I had so many new friends. I was on the cover of New York Times 3 times. Just this week, Tuesday edition, I was on the cover of it. I had so many interviews with so many people. I was famous. I was signing autographs. So many girlfriends. It was a good program. I think essentially it's a very wonderful program. It's just that when things go for very long, people tend to just let them slide, get lazy about some oversight functions. So I'd advise anybody who's watching this, if you're having double minds, don't have double minds. But America is not heaven. Just know that.
Thank you, Godwin.
You're welcome.